Environmental sustainability. Environmental sustainability is basically the improvements in the standard of living that do not cause long-term effects to the environments that will affect the future generations. How is it measured? The environmental sustainability of a country is dependent on mainly 20 variables. Each of them have a different weighting, but all of them fall under two main groups: environmental health and ecosystem vitality. These are the groups and subgroups that are considered when calculating an EPI score. The weighting. All the variables under the environmental health weigh 40% of the total EPI, and the variables under ecosystem vitality weigh 60% of the total EPI. Now the data presentation. This shows the main categories down the left side, and if you were to click on the drop-down list on the right-hand side, you'd see the subgroups that come with all of those. Now, things that people are doing to improve environmental sustainability globally is that people are reducing, reusing, and recycling materials. People are doing community gardens, and people are finding street grids to use. Therefore, they'll be able to calculate the shortest route to and from wherever they're going, reducing the amount of CO2 emissions or toxic gases released by their vehicles. Environmental sustainability management strategy. What are they and why do we have them? Management strategies are the plans that a country has for their environmental sustainability, and these include problems, solutions, and sustainability methods that affect the country's overall EPI. These exist because it's important to keep track of the succeeding fronts, the need to work on fronts, and the sustainability fronts in order to improve and sustain the environmental sustainability. South Africa. South Africa is ranked 72nd out of the world in its EPI, and these are the scores. Now notice that the scores that weigh the most, which are the water and resources, water and sanitation, health impacts, climate and energy, weigh in this particular pie chart are scored very low comparison to what they should be. So major issues that we have is that the weighting of climate and energy is low. It's only 44.87% of 25% of 60%. And you see the climate and energy chart right here. So in the total weighting of 60%, climate and energy is worth 25% of that 60. And out of that whole 25%, we've only scored 44.87. Now, same goes with health impacts, but it weighs 33% of the 40%, which is a lot. The water and sanitation also weighs 33% of the 40%, and water and resources weigh 25% of the 60%, which is also really important. And we can see the water and resources as the first category shown up there. Now, South Africa's environmental sustainability management strategies. So South Africa has set themselves 8 goals to succeed in environmental sustainability. The first goal is to have effective legislational framework and legislation. So they want to create an institutional framework and an integrative legislation system that will effectively build a well-resourced institutional capacity. The second goal is to provide access to and sustainable use of resources, both natural and cultural, whilst promoting a sustainable lifestyle. And they also hope to integrate an environmental management plan in the social and economic development sectors. So this would mean they'd talk to construction sites and jobs and ways to incorporate environmental management and environmental safety in both of those sectors. Goal 3 is holistic and integrated planning. So South Africa wants to develop a process that will ensure environmental consideration is implemented in developmental policies and programs in both social and economic fronts. This goal kind of goes hand in hand with the second goal. And then goal 4 is participation and partnerships. So South Africa wants to establish relationships with the public to have an effective involvement of both parties, which is the governing end and the public end, so that there's like an assurance of environmental governance, and there's a participation on both ends. Empowerment and environmental education. So this is goal 5, I believe, and it will increase awareness of environmental issues and concerns and assist in building the knowledge, skills, values, and commitment that is necessary to achieve sustainable development in the environment. Goal 6 is to develop and maintain mechanisms to increase information and effective management of the environmental information. Goal 7 is to consider international cooperation. This is to find ways to deal with international issues facing the environment and work on them effectively with national interests. For example, they talk about greenhouse gases, they'd see how they affect the world globally, and they'd be making their impact on based on national interest, that things that would move the country forward while still including and making a difference globally. And the last goal is to have a green economy. This is goal 8, and this is to design and implement a green economy to work with the visions of the medium-term strategic framework as a way of poverty reduction, as there will be safe and decent work provided, and these jobs will ensure. Well, this goal will ensure the progress of the environmental sustainability in the economy and society. So here I will be analyzing and concluding my presentation, and I will be comparing South Africa's environmental sustainability management strategy to Switzerland, which is ranked number 1 in the world on the EPI, and I will analyze and conclude in terms of South Africa's goals. So Switzerland is ranked first, and here you'll be able to see what they scored. And this score is because the categories, the factors that weigh the most, which is the health impacts, the water and sanitation, water resources, and the climate and energy have scored really high. 2 of those categories are 100%, and the lowest that they have is 78.14, which is climate and energy. That is higher than about 4 of the categories in the South Africa's EPI. So what Switzerland is doing that South Africa is not is that it has goals set, and those goals are in relation to the factors that they need to work on the most, which was not evident in South Africa's environmental management strategic plans. As you can see over here, Switzerland has focused on the nitrogen inputs in agriculture. Now, if you look here, you'll see that the air quality is an area to work on, and so is agriculture. And if you come and you look at one of their goals that they have is that they're analyzing the air quality. The atmospheric nitrogen disposition in particular remains too high for natural ecosystems and results in over-fertilization. So they're looking at how that air quality affects their agriculture, and they're finding ways to work on that. So Switzerland has high scores in the factors that weigh the most in the EPI, and most of the goals that have been set by South Africa have been met by Switzerland, and that's why they're moving forward. So when comparing the two, that's South Africa, we have great air quality and forestry. Biodiversity is doing well, so is agriculture. But again, the categories that weigh the most do not have entirely great scores. And here you see Switzerland, and a majority of their scores are really high. Just 2 are low, and they're not below 49. Our lowest is 27.86, excluding the fisheries, because Switzerland does not have that category. In conclusion, South Africa is a country with a lot of potential, and if the country would apply Goal 7, investing in international issues with a national interest, the country would be headed in the right direction. If they were involved in international issues, they'd see what other countries are doing to work on these international issues and how those countries are affected by that change and how their environmental sustainability is doing, and then they'd be able to apply it within the country themselves. And participating in environmental issues that impact the world on a global scale it will raise awareness with other countries, and I'm pretty sure that they would be willing to help. And the goals that the country has set are not specific enough, and the factors that suffer the most are not included or mentioned in the entire South Africa's strategy plan. And this would be beneficial if they, like Switzerland, would create and apply goals that were relevant in terms of what they need to work on. They would bear in mind to keep the factors that are doing really well, keep them the same and sustain them. However, it would be really helpful for the country if they would take what Switzerland has done by taking their weaknesses and planning to work on them in their goals and applying it. Thank you.